We got our NFL Week 16 winners and losers. Mario, I'm ready if you are. So without further ado, let's get to our winners and losers. I'm gonna start with my losers as I usually do. My number one loser, believe it or not, is the Titans receiving. They did not do good. I mean, they played in the snow. You can use that as an excuse, but again, got a job to do, and they did not do a great job. 11 total receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. That is something one player can do alone. That's absolutely unnecessary. And again, I understand they were playing in Green Bay where it was snowing last night there, but again, no excuses. You got to do your job, and well, you just weren't prepared for it. Um, with that said, let me get to my number two loser, the Falcons offense, more specifically their rushing and the amount of fumbles they had. And I just want to put out there that game they played against the Chiefs on Sunday was a very close game. Um, I think it was 17-14 final score. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I believe that was
Correct.
the final score. Thank you. Um, well, let me get to their rushing real quick. Their receiving wasn't bad, but I want to get to their rushing because that was terrible. 23 attempts and 90 yards, no touchdowns. That's absolutely unnecessary. And in a game that was so close and was so winnable by 3 points, you could have upped that rushing game, and it just didn't. It was absolutely terrible. As for the fumbles, they had four fumbles and one of those were lost. And I feel like that was the reason why they lost the game. The rushing and the amount of fumbles that they had. It's unacceptable. It really is. And I get this team doesn't have any more playoff ambitions because they got eliminated, but you know, they always say finish the season strong, and this isn't a way to finish strong. With that said, my third loser is the Lions offense. Now, I just want to get out of the way. The Lions just played absolutely terrible. They got their butts handed to them by the Buccaneers. I just want to point out their offense because to me that was just that looked even worse than the defense. Let me point out a few things. Between three quarterbacks, Chase Daniel, David Blau, and Matthew Stafford, right? 21 for 31 completion attempts, 152 yards, no touchdowns, and interception. Again, just like with the Titans receiving, this is something one quarterback can do. It's absolutely unnecessary. Uh, as for the rushing game, it's even worse. 15 rushing attempts for 73 yards and no touchdowns. It's absolutely unacceptable. That's an entire rushing corps doing that, and that's just not necessary. Same thing with the receiving. 21 receptions, 152 yards and no touchdowns. Again, just like just like with the quarterback situation and the Titans receiving situation, that's something one whole player can do on themselves, let alone an entire receiving corps. It's absolutely terrible. Um, but yeah, man, I mean the Lions played bad overall, but I think their offense was just the worst part of that loss.
Yeah, and before I give my losers for this week, I'll just review yours. So the Tennessee Titans, I absolutely agree. 11 receptions, 121 yards. It's something that can't be happening, and especially in an important game like that against Green Bay. You know, in a game like, even though it's not your rival, it is still a playoff team, and you do want to make a statement. And honestly, that's not your receiving core with AJ Brown. AJ Brown has been honestly one of the best receivers in this game. He's definitely top five, top 10 in between that. So for him to have that type of game, I mean, it's really disappointing in my eyes. And also when I look at the Tennessee Titans, you look at the three players that they have, the top three players on offense at least. You look at Ryan Tannehill, you look at Derrick Henry, and you look at AJ Brown. All three of those guys are used to heat. All three of them.
Right, right.
You look at Ryan Tannehill, he went to Texas and then he goes from there to Miami and from Miami to Tennessee. So honestly, he really never experienced the cold. You look at Derrick Henry, he went from Alabama to Tennessee, never really experienced the cold. Then you look at AJ Brown, he goes from Ole Miss to Tennessee, does not experience the cold, and let alone they don't experience the snow. I know damn well they don't experience the snow. So imagine there, because obviously I'm in the South and I hear a bunch of Southern people talk about how like 50 degrees is cold. Well, can you imagine you getting used to 50 degrees cold, and then you end up going to Green Bay in the winter?
I live in New England. We live in New England,
Right. I don't
and
think
we
that's
get
cold.
20-degree weather. Sometimes to us, that's not even that cold.
Right. And so, I mean, it's not an excuse. You're absolutely right, and I absolutely agree with you that that receiving core is definitely should be a loser. Now you go to the Falcons rushing. Now, if they didn't have all those fumbles, I wouldn't call them losers. You know, because
Right,
they average a little bit more than 4.5 yards a carry.
right.
But again, four fumbles, that's unnecessary, and they're very fortunate that only one of them was lost. On the other hand, they're not fortunate because if they didn't lose that fumble, they could have won the game,
Could have won that game, right?
which is why the Atlanta Falcons rushing, honestly, I don't think it's the biggest loser this week. I wouldn't call him that, but it definitely could have done better. I'll just leave it at that. And last but not least, the Lions offense in general. Here's the thing. This really shows you how important Matt Stafford is to that team.
Right.
And honestly, Matt Stafford, I think, has been undervalued his whole career. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I
I know
completely
he's only
agree.
been to like one playoff game and everything like that. But let me be honest with you. Matt Stafford is not a bad quarterback. I have the utmost respect for him. I have a lot of respect for Matt Stafford. Even though he's a Lion, I have a lot of respect for him. And he is a guy that when the Vikings play him, I'm very concerned with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I mean, Chase Daniels obviously is not the answer. The other quarterback after him is not the answer. And I mean, to be real with you, the Lions urgently need Matt Stafford back, but their season's already over. And I mean, I guess you would just write it out the way it is. Now going to my losers. So first off, in my loser had the Vikings rushing defense. Now, you know, thank you for letting me cover this because I wanted to cover this, and I will. Okay. The Vikings rushing defense let go of 7 TDs and 264 rushing yards. I'm sorry, Nate. I got to keep it real with you. This defense has not been that great this year. I'm gonna be real with you. They got some bright spots, but it's not a good defense.
Six
I'm
and
gonna be honest.
07 six
That
and
is
07 TDs
unnecessary.
from Alvin Kamara.
And Alvin Kamara isn't even and I'm gonna be real with you. Alvin Kamara is a good running back. Don't get me wrong. In my opinion, his top skill is receiving.
Right.
I consider him more of a threat receiving than rushing. So for you guys to let him get 155 out of those 264 yards, it's very disappointing.
Absolutely.
So that's my first loser. My second loser is the Giants' offensive line. The Giants' offensive line. Okay, I know their offense isn't that great this year, but the Giants' offensive line has let go against the Baltimore Ravens. They let go of 6 sacks and 7 tackle for losses. Like, and remind you, there was a drive where they had 3 sacks in a row. That's unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely not protecting Daniel Jones. And I believe that the offensive line's poor performance was a big reason why the Giants ended up getting beat that game 27-13. And last but not least, Dwayne Haskins, okay? Let's talk about Dwayne Haskins. He went 14 for 28, 50%, 154 yards, 2 interceptions with no TDs. Look, man, I'm not here to wish downfall upon. Actually, I feel bad for Dwayne Haskins. I'm gonna be real with you. I feel bad for Dwayne Haskins because here's a guy who really did make a mistake, and it was a stupid mistake. I'll agree, but we all make mistakes. And here's a guy who apologized for making those mistakes. But he came into this game, and like we've been saying, he's been underperforming since he got in Washington. And because of that, Washington made the right decision in cutting him. Now, we're going to talk about Dwayne Haskins later. We're going to talk about all of that video, but I just want to say that this was a very bad performance for Dwayne Haskins. When he got benched that game, I really thought I'm really thinking to myself, not that he get cut, not that he was going to get cut, but I was really thinking to myself that Dwayne Haskins, this might be a downfall for him. And the downfall came sooner than I thought. So those are my 3 losers.
Right. And again, like I said with I'll review yours before I get to my winners. Yeah, like I said with the Vikings, they let go of all those 7 rushing touchdowns and how many yards? 250 something yards, 250. And Alvin for Alvin Kamara to have bless you, and for Alvin Kamara to have 155 of those rushing yards, that's not good. Um, and your second loser was the Giants O line, right? The offensive line. That was your second loser, right? Yeah. To let go of 6 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. I mean, let me tell you something, all right? Daniel Jones may not look good, but he's not a bad. He's just like Matthew Stafford in my eyes, but he's a little younger, so he's got a little more time to prove himself. He's not a bad quarterback. He really isn't. He really isn't. And if you protect Daniel Jones and you let him run on all 4 cylinders, he's actually a really good quarterback. But his offensive line is just not protecting him. They let him let go of 3 sacks in a row. It's absolutely unnecessary. And it's just terrible. As for Dwayne Haskins, like you just said, I pity him, man. I feel bad for him. He played terribly against my team, which is what I needed that kind of confidence for the future. Um, but I still feel bad, because even though he wasn't that great, he got drafted last year, and the fact that he's being released by them after only 2 seasons, I mean, that says something. And again, we don't like to see players underperform and see their downfall, but when you're underperforming like this, excuse me, when you're underperforming like this, stuff like this happens, and as a result, not only is he a, a loser because of his performance, he's a loser because got released, and we hate to see it too. But we'll talk about that in the next video coming up. But now that I reviewed Mario's losers, let me go to my winners for Week 16. My number one winner is Devontae Adams. He had 11 receptions, 142 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Again, he had more touchdowns and receiving yards than the entire Titans receiving core. So kudos to him. My second winner, I never thought I would put a Bengal as my winner, but I was looking through who's going to be my winner, and I saw this, and I had to put him on here. Brandon Allen, the new quarterback for the Bengals. Get this, he had 29 for 37 completion attempts, 371 yards, and 2 TDs. The 2 TDs isn't flashy, but the fact they put up almost 400 yards, it's something we haven't seen aside from Joe Burrow, of course. It's Joe Burrow, it's just Joe Burrow. Something we haven't seen a Bengals quarterback do in a long time. So kudos to him, man. I mean, he's doing his job, and even though the team's eliminated from the playoffs, he's doing what he can to finish strong, and that earns a lot of respect. And my third winner this week is Roquan Smith, one of the defensive players for the Chicago Bears. He had 8 tackles, 2 interceptions combined for 16 yards, and 2 passes defended. That game started off very slow, but as it went on into the second half, the Bears just absolutely blew them out. And the defense is a good reason for that. And Roquan Smith is another reason for that too. So kudos to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, I'm going to be honest with you. I know he's a Green Bay Packer, but we're not going to be petty here. He's definitely, I think, a top 5 wide receiver in this league, without a doubt. I really do think he is. I mean, Devontae Adams might be even top 3 in my opinion. He really might be. I mean, if not like 4 or 5, but we're not here to like talk about where he ranks. But Devontae Adams is one of those wide receivers that is very hard to stop. Very hard. He's a veteran's veteran. For a 5-year receiver, he knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? And like I understand when people say, well, 5 years is a veteran. I get that. But for 5 years, he now like past couple years behind those 5 years, so like technically since his third year, I really do think he has become a great wide receiver in this league. And so Devontae Adams, I mean, that's a guy I really like look at as a wide receiver, and I really like am appalled at the stuff he does. It's a guy that I like when the Vikings play the Packers, I fear, and it's a guy like that I just honestly, even when they don't play him, when he's playing somebody else, it's a guy I just want to see play because he's that good of a wide receiver. I think his route running is unbelievable. And yeah, I mean the stats that you read, I mean, it shows how valuable he is to Aaron Rodgers, you know? And I just couldn't imagine how Aaron Rodgers would play without him. And so I mean Devontae Adams, I mean, he's an amazing player and honestly he's been doing amazing things this season. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Devontae Adams. Brandon Allen, the quarterback for the Bengals. I mean, last year he was on the Broncos and he did decent, but let me tell you something. He is that was a good game he had. That was a good game
Right,
he had.
right.
And I believe they beat the Texans.
Texas, yeah, 37-32, I think.
I think
It
it
was
was 37-31.
yeah, something like that.
So I mean, he beat the Texans, and I know what people are saying. Well, it's the Texans, and they're a really bad team. We got to give him credit still.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like 371 yards and 2 TDs. That's not anything to frown upon. And so I really do think Brandon Allen definitely was a winner. Was a winner. I definitely believe you can put him as a winner because he did play that great. And your third winner was Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith is a very good linebacker. Like there is no ups and downs about it. Roquan Smith is a very good linebacker. And again, a very key piece to the Bears defense. You know, we talk about Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks, and we talk about Eddie Jackson, Fuller. We talk about all these guys. But he is definitely a key piece to that defense. And he is definitely I honestly think a centerpiece to that defense because whenever you look at that defense, if you look at the stats and numbers don't lie, Roquan Smith usually leads the game in tackles.
Right, right.
I mean, you know, you could tell Roquan Smith was a great player for when you see him in the University of Georgia. He was a great player there. He's obviously became a great player in Chicago. And I mean, I'm not really a big fan of Chicago this year. I'm gonna keep it again. I'm not a big fan of Chicago this year, but I got to give respect to what respect is due, and Roquan Smith definitely deserves that respect. So honestly, I think you have some great winners. Now, for my winners, again, thank you for letting me pick this man. I know it's tough for you to find under three winners, but thank you for letting me pick this man. Alvin Kamara is my first winner. Okay, I know he ran all over my Vikings, but I'm not going to be petty. Okay, he had 22 rushes, 155 yards, and 6 TDs, which is a record. It, which is a record. It ties the record. It ties the record for the most rushing TDs in a game, which has not been done. 6 TDs rushing has not been done in a game since 1929. So congratulations to Alvin Kamara on completing that accomplishment. Um, yeah, man. I mean, let me tell you something. Look. I should be mad, but Alvin Kamara really helped me in fantasy. Alvin Kamara had gave me 56 points. I really can't be mad. I wasn't that. I was mad, but I wasn't that mad. In other words, so that was my first winner.
I haven't faced him.
My second winner was Tom Brady. Oh, you faced him?
No, I didn't. I just
Oh, I know
got
you said you
wasn't.
faced him. I was about to say I feel bad for you. But my second winner is Tom Brady, and Tom Brady went 22 for 27. He had 348 yards and 4 TDs. Let me tell you something, man. Tom Brady lit it up. He lit it up against the Detroit Lions, and I was hesitant. And I had him on fantasy too, so it was a good day for me, man. But look, yeah, Tom Brady had a great day. You know what I mean? He absolutely threw against the Detroit Lions, and they could not stop him. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He had Mike Evans as go-to guy. Chris Godwin had a good game. I believe Antonio Brown. I don't know if he had a touchdown, but Antonio Brown had a very nice game too. So those three wide receivers really lit it up for him. But obviously, the man setting them up was Tom Brady, and I got to give respect to Tom Brady. He played an absolutely amazing game. And if it wasn't for Alvin Kamara, I think he would be NFC Offensive Player of the Week. But we already know who that's going to go to.
Right.
And last but not least, Randy Gregory. Let me tell you something. A lot of people talk about Randy Gregory, right? But Randy Gregory, honestly, he's turned into a good player. You know, since coming back from suspension, I think he's been a very good piece of his Cowboys team. And I know they're not good, but he really is a key piece of his defense. Randy Gregory had 6 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and he had 3 forced fumbles with a pass defended. So I mean, I got to give him credit where credit's due. Randy Gregory did an absolutely amazing job, and I mean, I looked at him coming into the draft. I was like, this kid's gonna be very very good, and then he got into his issues, and then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it's such a shame because it was like it's almost like a waste of talent. He had all this talent, and he kept getting into like bad decisions, but. Obviously, it looks like he's starting to turn around those decisions, and hopefully, he continues on this great path. And I think that if he does continue to be on this path, I think that Randy Gregory will be a Dallas Cowboy for a very long time.
Yeah, man. Obviously, of course, I don't really have much to say for Alvin Kamara other than he absolutely lit it up. He made history. There's really nothing else for me to say. Six rushing TDs in one game is absolutely incredible. So that's really all I have to say to that. As for Tom Brady, I'm pretty sure he did most of that in I think he had like 3 TDs in what first half or something like that, something like that. Yeah, that's amazing, man. I mean, everybody says how washed up Tom Brady is, how old he is, but listen, I mean, he still has some left in the tank, and he's still the greatest quarterback of all time, and he's just continuing to prove it day after day. Um, as for Randy Gregory, I want to talk about him for a minute because, like you said, Mario, he's a guy that I looked at and he was like, because I mean, he got drafted, and before he got drafted, he had an issue with drugs, the weed more specifically. Before he got drafted, and he lost his draft value because of that. Um, and then he got busted again when the Dallas Cowboys went on their great 13-3 run in 2016. He got caught again, and then he got caught again after that and got suspended indefinitely. And I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, and it's crazy too because I'm looking at him too. But then this was around the time a lot of NFL players are doing it, and the two more popular ones were Josh Warren and Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant got caught a few times doing it too. I'm not caught. He got caught way more than that. But Josh Warren's obviously the most famous one. I look at all those three guys, especially Randy Gregory, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So much talent, and he's just wasting it on drugs, wasting it on weed, and all alcohol, codeine, whatever. But I'm really glad this dude's picking up. I'm glad he learned his lesson. I hope he keeps it that way. Because like you said, if he continues to do this and he continues to perform excellent like he did last night, he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy for a very long time. So kudos to Randy Gregory. I'm very glad he's coming back and doing his thing. But anyway, that is our NFL Week 16 winners and losers. Let us know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with our winners and losers.